I want to talk a little bit today about therapy, therapy in general, and the varying forms. And one of the things that I'm coming across a little bit in clinic that I am feeling slightly worried about. I feel like I need to be a little bit of an activist in it to just kind of put a few thoughts and feelings out there. I mean, these are very personal thoughts and feelings. But I wanted to share them mainly because I have and am working with at the moment quite a few parents who are finding things slightly difficult because of their understanding of attachment. And I understand the attachment theory completely. I mean, attachment is very much about this deep and enduring connection that we establish with a child, or a caregiver establishes with a child, or a parent establishes with a child in the first several kind of years of life. And it enables children to kind of grow and develop having secure attachments to loving individuals around them. Now, these children are left, if they are not, or the attachment theory describes it, if children are not able to have and develop a secure attachment, they are then left losing out on or without the most important foundation for healthy development, and are therefore at risk of all sorts of different things: low self-esteem, antisocial behavior, lack of self-control, anxiety, depression, just about everything, really. Now, although I understand the attachment theory completely, I do not feel, and I very powerfully feel, that it is just not about attachment on its own. I find it very difficult to hear parents struggling who have been told that their child is experiencing anxiety because of the attachment to their parent or the caregiver, or because of an experience that they've had as a child. Now, I also do believe quite strongly in utero experiences as well. You know, as a genetic parent, of course, what we experience emotionally may be able to be manifested and felt in a growing child in the womb. So that also can have an impact on an individual. I do believe in that as well, to a degree. So we've got in utero, we've got attachment, and then I will very powerfully talk about nature, because I feel that at the moment with different forms of therapy, nature is really being overlooked. And as parents, we're beginning to feel that we're failing all of the time, no matter what it is that our child is experiencing. So our child may be feeling low in self, or they may be experiencing more anxiety than normal, or they may experiencing challenge in behavior. And that quite often, I feel, in certain situations, is being just pulled straight back to the attachment. Well, there's a problem with the attachment between the caregiver and the child, or there's something that the child has missed out on. So I want to talk about nature, because yes, I agree with attachment. I believe very much in utero, and I also believe very much in nature. And I'm aware of there being quite a big sort of nature versus nurture debates in psychology. And I want to kind of just read a few things out about nature and about this sort of battle. So the nature versus nurture debate involves the extent to which particular aspects of behavior are a product of either inherited, which is genetic, or acquired, which is learned, influences. Now, nature is what we think of as pre-wiring, and it's influenced by genetic inheritance and other biological factors. Nurture is generally taken as the influence of external factors after conception, e.g. the product of exposure, life experiences, and learning as an individual. Behavioral genetics has enabled psychology to qualify the relative contribution of nature and nurture with regard to specific psychological traits. I think it's really important to remember that. So instead of defending extreme nativist or nurturist views, most psychological researchers nowadays are interested in investigating how nature and nurture interact in a host of qualitatively different ways. And I really stand by that. I feel like I need to be quite an activist in at the moment, just seeing how many parents who are incredible parents feel that they're getting it wrong all of the time. And, of course, we all have our learned experience as a child. We do. We have learned certain experiences. We also have an innate personality, an innate character, our own individual uniqueness that comes from our genetics, that comes from our handed down inheritance, that comes from a much deeper source. And I feel that's where we have to look at both nature and nurture within it. It's quite an interesting subject, one that I'm incredibly focused on and always have been. So I just want to share the different approaches to psychology. So we've got nature at one end and we've got nurture at the other end. So let's look at nature, which is much more of that biological approach. It's a focus on genetic, hormonal and neurochemical explanations of behavior. Then we go more onto the psychoanalysis, which is more the innate drives of sex and aggression, which is nature. Then social upbringing during childhood, which is nurture. Then we get into the middle, which is cognitive psychology, which is the innate mental structures such as schemas, perception and memory, and constantly changing by the environment. Then we go more onto nurture, which is humanism. So this is more Maslow emphasized basic physical needs, which you can research a little bit if you want. It's quite in depth. And society influences a person's self-concept, to behaviorism, which is all behavior is learnt from the environment through conditioning. Now, I again reiterate, I feel so strongly that we have to look at both nature and nurture. We cannot believe, or we should not believe, it's not that we cannot, we should not necessarily believe or feel that it's all to do with nurture, okay? And that's not a get out clause. It doesn't mean that I'm sort of saying that we can use that and say that we, regardless of who we are as a parent, that we don't have to take responsibility for it. We are all, as parents, very aware that our nurture impacts our children. But let's also recognize that our children have their innate way. Our children have their innate personality. We need to recognize that, we need to value that, and we need to hold them in it, okay? Without feeling like we've failed them, that we've done something wrong, or that we're not good enough as a parent. Yeah, we need to kind of hold on to that part for our child as well as for ourselves as a parent. Okay.